Season 1 of Tell Me Lies kicks off when Lucy decides to shed her old life by dumping her high school boyfriend before heading to college, yet she has no idea she is about to walk straight into the web of master manipulator Stephen DeMarco. At the time, Stephen is technically flying solo because his long-term girlfriend Diana dumped him for cheating, so he spends his newfound freedom hitting on Lucy at a party. Lucy isn't exactly falling for his charms at first because she has a bit of a wall up, but everything changes after a tragic twist of fate involving her roommate Macy. Macy invites Lucy to a party that Lucy refuses to go to, only for her to wake up to the devastating news that Macy died in a car accident on her way home. When Lucy's new friends, Pippa and Bree, eventually drag her out to keep her from drowning in guilt, she ends up spiraling and getting completely trashed. Stephen swoops in like a vulture in a nice sweater to take her home, and it is there that she finally breaks down in tears. He plays the part of the sensitive guy perfectly, by comforting her and staying the night, because she is too terrified to be alone, and just like that, he has her hook, line, and sinker. From there, Lucy falls head over heels for him, even though they are supposed to be in the getting to know you stage. They spend most of their time hooking up until Lucy discovers some condoms at Stephen's friend Evan's supposed condo where Stephen is staying for his internship interview, which is actually just one of Diana's father's houses. Stephen had told Lucy he felt comfortable enough to not use a condom with her, which made Lucy get on the pill, but seeing these condoms means he is sleeping with other people even though he said he wasn't. This realization forces Lucy to acknowledge the weird dynamic of their relationship, specifically the fact that Stephen never takes her to parties where his friends are, and he flat out refuses to accompany her to any public events. They haven't been seen together in public even once, but Stephen manages to masterfully gaslight her by claiming he is just a poor college student who has to scrape together every single penny just to survive. He argues that the fact he uses those precious pennies to take her on secret dates off campus is proof that she means the world to him, essentially implying she is being a total brat for even questioning him. You might ask yourself how being broke correlates with needing to hide a girlfriend from the entire world, but unfortunately, Lucy is the only one falling for that absolute nonsense. Since she is already so deep in her feelings, she chooses to ignore the logic and simply accepts her fate, convincing herself it is okay that he is seeing other people because they aren't technically exclusive yet. The real problem with this situationship is that whenever Stephen actually needs to connect emotionally, he calls Diana because they are both highly driven and understand each other's world. Lucy is basically just the fun girl on the side, but she has no clue about this dynamic until they head home for Christmas break. They are supposed to meet up the day after the holiday, but Stephen's nightmare family dynamics quickly ruin those plans. Stephen's mom, Nora, is a world-class narcissist who thrives on attention, and his older brother, Nick, is more than willing to dote on her, even quitting his job to move back home while his younger sister, Sadie, is just desperate to escape to boarding school. Stephen is the only one who has mastered their mother's games by acting completely cool and indifferent to deny her any satisfaction, but even he gets played when Nora suggests a family dinner. After Stephen suggests a restaurant, his mom cleverly manipulates him into picking the one she actually wants, only for the kids to realize she chose it specifically because Stephen's dad and his new pregnant girlfriend would be eating there. When the siblings get angry at her for the ambush, Nora shamelessly blames Stephen for picking the spot in the first place. Feeling completely defeated and sad, Stephen calls Diana, who already knows the truth about his mother's toxicity. She comes over the next day, which is the exact day he was supposed to be with Lucy, and they hook up while he completely ditches his plans with his college girl. Lucy, furious and hurt, rebounds by sleeping with Max, a genuinely good guy she met at a bar who has essentially become her fallback option. Max actually gets her to open up about why she treats her mother like a villain, and the truth is heartbreaking. Lucy reveals that while her father was bedridden and dying at home, she called her mother repeatedly, only to find out later that her mom had turned off her phone to have an affair with a family friend named James. Lucy has kept this secret bottled up for years, and when Max suggests she might need therapy because the ordeal has made her so cold, she immediately shuts him out by saying they aren't close enough for him to be giving her life advice. To get her fix of Stephen since he is ignoring her, she decides to visit Macy's memorial since Macy lived in the same town. While she is looking through Macy's old things, she finds a hand-drawn flower that is identical to the one Stephen drew for her on their first date. It turns out the man was just recycling the same riz for all the ladies. When Lucy confronts Stephen, he plays the vulnerable card and admits they were secretly seeing each other over the summer, but claims they ended things once college started, only for Macy to call him on the night she died. He tells Lucy this sob story about how he was a passenger in the car while a very drunk Macy was driving him back to campus, and he insists that Drew Wrigley's brother was the one who actually caused the fatal accident. He paints himself as a traumatized victim who was just too terrified to come forward, and instead of running for the hills away from a guy who fled a death scene, Lucy completely eats it up and starts consoling him. The truly wild thing about Stephen is that he absolutely cannot take what he dishes out. Even though he refuses to treat his girls like they're in a real relationship, he has this toxic territorial thing where he can't stand anyone else touching them. When Diana visited for Christmas, she accidentally let it slip that she hooked up with Wrigley during the first week of freshman year, which was ages before she and Steven even started dating. Most people wouldn't care about a hookup from years ago, but Steven's ego is so fragile that he uses it as an excuse to officially drop Diana. With Diana finally out of the picture, Steven starts going to parties with Lucy, who is now convinced their trauma bond over the accident has turned them into a serious couple. Of course, Steven isn't just focusing on his new romance because he's way too busy plotting his revenge against Wrigley for keeping the Diana hookup a secret for all those years. When Lucy, acting all self-righteous after Steven's confession, starts treating Drew like a social pariah, Steven decides to drive a wedge between Wrigley and his brother by suggesting that Pippa must have been the one to leak the secret about the crash to Lucy. Wrigley actually did tell Pippa because the guilt was eating him alive, and he needed to trust someone, which Steven knew. Since Steven only keeps secrets until he can use them to ruin people, he waits for the perfect moment to strike. Drew doesn't really believe Steven's claims until Lucy decides to take matters into her own hands by sending an anonymous letter to the dean, demanding an investigation into Drew. When Drew finds out his future is on the line, he blows up at Wrigley, leading to a physical fight where Wrigley falls and breaks his leg so badly he might never play football again. This tragedy causes Wrigley to dump Pippa in a fit of grief and anger. The situation with Pippa is honestly heartbreaking, because she spent her high school years being bullied, and is now overcompensating in college just to be liked. Even though Wrigley really liked her, and actually stopped his player ways for her, Pippa has been hiding the fact that she's actually attracted to women. She's been faking her way through their physical relationship this whole time, but she knows exactly who is responsible for her life falling apart. She tries to warn Lucy that Steven is dangerous, especially since he previously threatened her with the Drew secret, but Lucy is so deep in the Steven sauce that she completely shuts her friend down. As it turns out, Steven was actually the one driving the night Macy died. Even though Macy insisted they find a sober driver since they were both hammered, Steven refused because he was too obsessed with making sure no one saw them together. While he was busy gaslighting her about why he was keeping her a secret, he took his eyes off the road and hit Drew's car, which led to the crash that killed Macy. He then dragged Macy's body into the driver's seat, deleted her last call to him, and simply dipped from the scene. Steven has always talked to people crazy, but he mostly spared Lucy until she started helping in ways that actually threatened his freedom. When a witness claims they saw Steven with Macy that night, Lucy tries to save him by lying and saying he was actually with her. This backfires spectacularly, because Steven was seen at multiple other parties that night by dozens of people, so Lucy's unprompted alibi just makes them both look guilty. Steven finally snaps and talks to her like garbage, blasting her for the stupid help she keeps rendering, including that disastrous letter to the dean. It doesn't help that Steven is officially broke after his mother cut him off for helping his sister Sadie escape to boarding school. Lucy tries to help by suggesting a desk job at her friend Lydia's dad's golf club, but Steven is way too high on pride to accept something he feels is beneath him. This is where Diana swoops in to reclaim her throne by securing him a prestigious internship at her father's law firm. Diana is driven and can actually offer him a future, while Lucy has essentially made her entire world revolve around him, even canceling her dream summer trip to India just to be near him. Ultimately, Steven shows his true colors at the end-of-school party by ditching Lucy for Diana right in front of everyone. A shattered and drunk Lucy ends up seeking comfort in the arms of Steven's best friend Evan, and they end up sleeping together. This is a massive mess because Evan has always had a secret crush on Lucy, but since she didn't reciprocate, he had pivoted to Lucy's best friend Bree. They actually had a really sweet thing going, but now that he's betrayed her with her friend, everything has become a million times more complicated. Tell Me Lies Season 2 kicks off, with everyone returning to campus after a long summer. Lucy is doing her absolute best to act indifferent towards Steven, knowing nothing hurts a narcissist more than being ignored, and this strategy infuriates Steven to his core. Seeking a reaction, he decides to humiliate her in front of Leo, the handsome new guy interested in her. He gets exactly the rise he wanted when Lucy smashes the precious iPhone Diana's father bought for him and threatens to ruin his life if he continues to mess with her. Instead of backing off, Steven treats this as a challenge. He signs up as the teaching assistant for her new class just to ensure he is constantly in her personal space, eventually forcing a frustrated Lucy to quit the class altogether. Things have been incredibly awkward between Bree and Evan because the man is overcompensating like crazy to cover up the fact that he cheated. While Steven is the first to deduce that Evan stepped out on the relationship, Evan is smart enough not to reveal that the other woman was actually Lucy. Though Steven gives him decent advice to tell Bree the truth, the emotional distance between the couple has already grown too wide. While signing up for a poetry class in solidarity with Lucy, Bree meets the professor's husband, Oliver Brady. Fascinated by Bree's dramatic flair during a damsel in distress act to get into the full class, Oliver takes an immediate interest. Their paths cross again on her birthday following a disastrous fight with Evan, who gifted her expensive jewelry that didn't fit her vibe. Feeling misunderstood, she vents to Oliver and realizes he is attracted to her. When Evan finally grows a spine and confesses his cheating, Bree skips the tears and heads straight into Oliver's arms. Their fantasy collapses when Bree plants the earrings. Evan bought her in Oliver's pocket after a hookup at a party hosted by Oliver and his wife, Marianne. Realizing Bree is getting too attached, Oliver shuts the affair down, refusing to leave his wife. When Bree visits him later to prove she can do casual, Marianne catches them in the act. In a disgusting twist, Marianne reveals they have an open marriage, and Oliver has been sharing every detail of the affair with her, which essentially makes Bree a toy they played with. Bree eventually smashes his car with her friends and drops Marianne's class. However, Marianne's remark that she's glad he didn't meet Lucy first suggests this is not Oliver's first rodeo with students. Oh, and yes, Oliver is Evan's professor, which is almost certainly going to matter later. The group also welcomes a new addition this season as Lucy's home best friend, Lydia, has her brother Chris join the college. Lucy takes him under her wing to show him the ropes, but things take a dark turn during a night out. Pippa has been frozen out and bullied by the football team, who blame her for breaking Wrigley's heart, so Lucy tries to help by setting her up with Chris. Unfortunately, the guy turns out to be a predator who tries to take advantage of Pippa while she is blackout drunk. While Diana arrives just in time to stop the situation from escalating, a traumatized Pippa refuses to admit that anything happened. Realizing Diana is actually a decent person, Lucy tells her that Steven was the one behind the wheel the night Macy died. Diana doesn't believe the truth until Steven has a panic attack after his LSATs due to the immense pressure of passing. At the hospital, the doctor reveals that Steven has a healed fractured rib that likely came from the heavy impact of a steering wheel during a car accident. This prompts Diana to check Steven's laptop, where she sees explicit photos Macy sent him. She immediately starts plotting her escape, knowing the best way to be free of a narcissist is to make him leave you. She lies about failing her LSATs, ruining their chances of going to Yale together or getting the recommendation letter he needs. Then she stages a dramatic dinner, where her card declines after she puts a hold on it herself. Since Steven only values her for her status and benefits, he dumps her immediately and pivots right back to Lucy. The rift between Lucy and Lydia begins when Lydia visits and reads Steven to filth. Steven's sister, Sadie, tries to defend her brother by claiming Lucy was just a stalker who couldn't let go, which prompts Lucy to tell the young girl exactly how horrible her brother truly is. This interaction infuriates Steven, and he decides to strike back by dismantling Lucy's support system. He corners Lydia and starts whispering poison in her ear, twisting personal things Lucy said in confidence, to make it seem like Lucy views Lydia as